Next, let's talk a little bit about these models' ability to perform critical reasoning tasks. So think of critical reasoning tasks as math word problems that we used to do in high school. A question like Sam has 50 books in the room, he read 5 books, how many books left in the room? Now this is a tricky question because although he read 5 books, there are still 50 books in the room even if he read 5. So let's see how these different models perform on this specific tricky math word problem. I ran the same prompts. Sam has 50 books in the room, he read 5 books, how many books left in the room? Across 4 different models, and we have the answers. Google got it wrong. Gemini, it says 45. So did Perplexity, it says there are 45 books left in the room. So did Claude. By subtracting 50 minus 5, it came to the 45 conclusion. But as I expected, GPT was able to figure out the tricky part in the question. It said, however, reading the books doesn't remove them from the room. Therefore, there are still 50 books left in the room. So GPT outperformed Claude and other models in this specific scenario of critical reasoning when I threw in a deliberate, intentional, tricky math word problem in. Now I punched in another math problem, which is from a GMAT test which you give for graduate admissions for business schools. The problem says triangle P has a side of length x, y and z. So a triangle has 3 sides. The length of x is 5 and y is 9. What is the parameter of the triangle P? So we know 2 sides and we're trying to figure out the third one. And then it gives 2 statements. One says triangle P is isosceles. So if triangle P is isosceles, that means 2 of its sides out of 3 are equal. And 5 and 9 are different numbers. So that means z could either be 5 or 9. But that statement in itself cannot help me find the length of z, because I just know it could be 5 or 9, but which one is it equal to? I don't know yet. Z is a prime number less than 7. Okay, so if z is a prime number less than 7, there are 3 options available. It could either be 2, 3 or 5. The next prime number is 7 and it's less than 7. So this statement alone cannot help me figure out the answer, because z is a prime number less than 7 means that z could be either 2, 3 or 5. Doesn't help me figure it out. But if I combine both these statements together, if I say it's a triangle, isosceles triangle plus less than 7, then I'm restricted with the options. Because 1 means it could either be 5 and 9, and 2 means it could either be 2, 3 or 5. So 5 being the common in the 2. If both 1 and 2 are true, then my answer is 5. And I can calculate the parameter by adding all 3 sides together, which will be 5 plus 5 plus 9, 19. Now there are 5 different MCQ options for the model to choose from. It says 1 alone is sufficient, 2 alone is sufficient, 1 and 2 are together are sufficient, but neither alone is sufficient. Each statement alone is sufficient. Statement 1 and 2 together are not sufficient to answer the question. Now, based on understanding from the explanation I just provided, we need both of these statements to be true to be able to get the answer, which means 1 and 2 together are sufficient, but neither alone is sufficient. And that's our answer C. Now let's see what GPT gives us. GPT goes through the calculation same way I did. The statement alone does not uniquely determine z. Statement 2 alone does not uniquely determine z. Combining statements, z is equal to 5. So C is the answer. 1 and 2 together are sufficient, but neither alone is. GPT got it right. Now if we look at Bard also reached the same conclusion. C, 1 and 2 are together are sufficient, but neither alone is sufficient. If you look at Perplexity, since it's a search engine model, it wasn't able to get to the last, it wasn't able to solve it, and it said statement 2 is not needed to determine the parameter of the triangle, which is wrong. Gemini also got it right, probably by saying therefore both statements are needed to definitely determine the parameter triangle, which is the answer C. So in this way, although Gemini, GPT and Claude were able to solve this math problem for us from a GMAT test, Perplexity failed, and that's expected kind of, because Perplexity is a AI search engine model. So asking it to do critical reasoning tasks might not be the best idea. Now in the next lecture, we'll look at another example, this time providing some data for analysis to the model and see if it can answer some of the follow-up questions from there. So stay tuned.